Okay, let us get centered and welcome everybody. We are happily and diligently moving forward with chapter 2. I'm going to begin with chanting chapter 2, the first 10 verses. And they are simple, and we shall move forward with a brief explanation of each of the verse. Do notice that on verse 5, my chanting meter will change from verse 5 to verse 8, because when verses are longer, then the style of the chant changes. So I can begin chapter 2. Atha Dvitiya Adhyayah. We always say Atha, now. Dvitiya, second Adhyaya, chapter. Sanjay Uvacha. Remember, Sanjay is having a conversation with the blind king Dhritarashtra. Sanjay has special ability, a sixth eye, a sixth sense, extrasensory ability to see what is happening. So he's reporting, he's broadcasting like a satellite camera. So he's telling Dhritarashtra, the blind king, Sanjay Uvacha. Tam tatha kripaya vishtam ashrupurna kulekshanam vishidantam idam vakyam uvacha madhusudanaha. And now he reports that Bhagavan, Sri Krishna, is saying, Shri Bhagavan uvacha kutastva kashamalam idam Vishame samupastitam arnaryajushtamasvargyam akirti karamarjuna klebyam masmagama partha naitattvai upapatyate kshutram hridayadar balyam tvaktotishta parantapa. Arjun uvacha. Then Arjun spoke. Katham bhishmam aham sankhye draudam cha madhusudana ishubhi pratiyotsyami pujarha varisudana. And then Arjun starts speaking some long sentences. Gurun hatva hi mahanubhavan shreyo bhoktum bhakshmati haloke Hatvat kamanstu gurunniheva Bunjiye bhogan rudir padikhan Na chaitat vikma katarangariyaha Yadva jayema yadivanu jayeyuhu Yaneva hatva na jijivishamaha Devastita pramukhe dhartarashtraha Karpanya doshopahata svabhavaha Vichhami tvam dharma sammudachetaha Yaksheyasyan nishchitam bruhitanme Shishyasteham shadhimam tvam prapannam Nahi prapashyami mamapanudyat Yachchokamuchchokshanmindriyanam Avakte bhumavaspatnam riddham Rajyam Suranam Apichadipatyam. He concludes certain long sentences and concluding two verses by Sanjay. Sanjay Uvacha Eva Mukta Hashikesham Gudakesha Parantapa Nayotsya Iti Govindam Uktvatu shanim bhabhuvaha Tamovacha rishikeshaha Rahasan iva bharata Senayor vayor madhye Vishidantam idam vachaha. So this concludes the first 10 verses, because as you know that from the 11th verse Bhagwan will start offering philosophy and teachings which we are anticipating. So these last 10 verses are indicative of the continuing conversation from chapter 1. However, the tone and the discussion has changed. It has become much more focused. In the beginning, when Arjuna in chapter 1 was dealing with raga and raga dvesha leading to shoka, grief, and then moha, delusion, and had confused dharma with adharma, and mostly was giving his own arguments like a very well-prepared lawyer, advocating his case, advocating his decision as to what he should do. Even though he was talking to Lord Krishna, he was not really, he was just talking one way. It was more like a venting, don't you think? He didn't really wait for any input, and he will declare what he should be doing. He even said once, I should die. He said I should leave and go away. So all these extreme discussions, and we go through that. Sometimes we are talking to a friend, our parent, our significant other, even our teacher, and we are so full with sorrow and suffering that we are simply talking and we are going on creating negative scenarios. And so this was the overflowing of Arjuna's samsara. That is how we had ended chapter 1. So in chapter 2, in the first verse, Sanjay is telling the blind king Dhritarashtra that simply he's saying that Krishna spoke the following words to the grieving Arjuna. Grieving, the one who is overcome by attachment, and that word comes from kripaya. Kripaya means false compassion, false attachment. Avishtam means suffering. So he is overcome. And ashru means eyes, tears. Ashru purna kulekshanam. So his eyes were brimming with tears, and these are the words that God spoke to Arjuna while he was in this situation. That is all the verse 1 is saying. Okay. It's a very clear description, as if Sanjaya was standing right there. And thank God he had that vision and that he could report to us everything. So this is a good strategy by the author to report to us. What does Bhagwan say? He says, so as I mentioned to you last time, that in the beginning, sometimes before a teacher gives the deep philosophy, because up till now, as you can see, that Arjuna has not really said, I am your Shishya, because that's coming up in verse 7. This is still verse 2. So Krishna doesn't, is not going to start teaching the highest philosophy. So at the most, he can give him a wake-up call. And so he uses a bit harsh words, and he says, from where, oh Arjuna, from where has this dejection, this dejection, idam kashamilam, this dejection has come to you. This is not idly entertained by noble people. Arya. The word Arya, even though the word Aryan has been maligned by Hitler, but Arya is a Sanskrit word. Arya is not a caste or a race. Arya means the noble one, Arya. So in fact, the whole dynasty of Ram in Ayodhya was known as the Arya dynasty, of the people who voluntarily embody noble behavior, whether they are king or whether they are a boatman, whether they are a soldier. We are all Arya. So he says this behavior does not suit an Arya, because you are from you're a noble person. You have gone to Gurukulam. You have studied all the things. You are choosing a certain way of life. So this is not suitable to you. And this behavior that you are embodying, it says that aswargayam, it will not lead to heaven. which means you're not collecting any punyam passport, by the way. You know how I've talked about punyam and papam. There is certain noble behavior that we do. For example, somebody wants to cross the street, it's an old person, you were in a rush, but you saw that that old person needed to cross the street, so you voluntarily, probably got late for a meeting, but you realized somebody needs to walk that old person across the street. So you took out 5-7 minutes of your busy life to walk that person across the street to make sure they safely go across the street. And this is called arya, or a noble behavior, dharmic behavior. And you get 5 minutes late for the meeting and your boss may give you a look. But what you actually create is punyam. It's an invisible merit. And this invisible merit will give you a better body in next lifetime. Basically, it's a cloud. It may not generate benefit right away, but it's like a bypass. It creates good fortune coming up. And potentially, it can also, if you have to be reborn again, be born in higher lokas. So when the Vedic texts use heaven, they don't have the concept of heaven which is fixed. For example, in Christianity, there is a heaven and then there is a hell, and you go to heaven or you go to hell. But heaven means the 7 lokas that are above earth, and hell means 6 lokas that are below earth. So, and earth is like in between, it's half dark, half light, half sorrow, half happiness. But as you move up in the lokas, you get, it's an easier existence, let's just say. It's not, you still don't know who you are, but hey, if you have to have a body, why not choose a body that's, that's in a better loka. So like, the setup is better. You may not know it, many of you are born here, but there are many immigrants. I'm not one of them either because I came from comfort, but there are many immigrants who try to come to America on a boat, or they walk across the desert. They might even die in the process. Why? Because they are trying to change their loka. See, if we live in a better loka, we'll have a better life. So one of the reasons we like to behave dharmically, not that it's not a candy, but it's a fact that when we behave in a dharmic manner, you get promoted in terms of which loka you go to. So he says, hey, this behavior is not leading you in an other world benefit, okay? And also will lead to ill fame in this world. It will lead to ill fame. Akirti. Kirti means fame, and akirti means ill fame or loss of fame. I don't know what's the opposite of fame. Disfame. It will lead to disfame. So this is very worldly argument that Krishna has given. And I think most teachers, when the kind of conversation I will have with my close student would be who I know is my student would be very different from somebody I talk to and I casually give them some advice. So, it's natural. One can't just say, okay, let us now start discussing the philosophy and the deep codes now. So he gives a very basic understanding. And this word Kashmalam is interesting because Kashmalam literally means impurity. So it's like he's talking about a mental impurity, like depression, dejection, negative thinking, building up a scenario and then finding oneself locked in it. We do that to ourselves. So he just says, come on. So he's like, snap out of it. That is what Lord Krishna is saying. It's very sharp. Wake up, I can vouch to you that sometimes a father figure, a mother figure, a Baba figure in my life can just snap you out of something, and that was his hope. So he says that, that this is what he says in his in verse 2, and also another thought I was remembering is that an Arya is one who is bound by dharma. Basically, you cannot be a noble person. We're not talking about noble because of birth or because of land or because of aristocracy or blood or beauty or wealth. We're talking about an Aryan or an Arya in the Vedic terminology means one who is dharma bound. And if we are dharma bound, then we don't do our duties based upon is it pleasant or unpleasant? Will it bring me benefit or not benefit? Will it be taking too much or too less from me? Duty is duty, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant. That is what is a dharma bound person does. So it understood was because in the previous Mahabharata, Arjuna and his brothers demonstrated that dharma boundedness, which Duryodhana and his brothers didn't do that. But now in this moment of attachment, even all that is gone. So that's why Lord Krishna is reminding him that you are an Arya. You have an inner standard. Remember that, and so this is what's happening. Okay. Then in this third verse, he uses a word called Klaibyamma Smagama Partha. Partha is the name of Arjuna because his mother's name is Pritha, Pritha's son Partha. And he calls him Klaibyam. Klaibyam is a word. It's not a curse word. I mean, it's not a, what is it called? Swear word. It's not a swear word, but Klaibyam is a very technical word used for a man who's behaving not like a man. So, a coward, not willing to wear your pants. I don't know those English statements. Sorry, this may sound funny. Not willing to wear your pants. I don't mean that. I mean, not willing to be a man. Let's just say that. Not willing to stand up for what they've been given, the body, the courage, the muscles, the ability to have teachers like Drona, to be born in a kshatriya, a king or royal family, have had the best training. So be a man. Do what you have to do. So this is the scolding that I was talking about. This is harsh words. So I'm hoping that after these particular verses, some of my students will now see me in new light and understand that if I use certain statements towards them, and if the students are still here, that means it was for their own benefit. I did not necessarily, get anything out of it. But sometimes this is what a teacher does to break tamas, let's just say. And as you know, Arjuna was full of tamas, so he needed this rajasic energy from Bhagwan. I think Bhagwan is role modeling so much. Bhagwan is role modeling how we respond to different situations. So you can see that Bhagavad Gita is not painting the whole world with one brush. Bhagavad Gita is showing how we live, communicate, and move towards goal-oriented behavior through our different states of mind, different speech, etc. So he says that, come on, do not take to unmanly. It's not that you are unmanly. He doesn't say that. He says, do not resort to unmanly behavior. So he's not degrading Arjuna. Please note, he is pointing out that Arjuna is choosing behavior which is not indicative of his abilities. Do not take to that. And kshutram hridaya daurbilyam. He says, give up this. Kshudra means small. Hridaya daurbalya. Hridaya means heart. Daurbalya means weakness. Give up this weak-hearted, small-mindedness. Small-mindedness means ahamkara, mamakara. My teacher, my grandfather. That's it. This is what my world has reduced to. I have forgotten everything. In fact, in one of the verses in chapter 1, he had even said, I'd rather be killed by Duryodhana than to kill him. So he's not thinking about the others who are dependent upon him, who want righteousness, who want the rule of law to return to their state, is only being weak-hearted. He can't move forward with what he needs to do, and he's being small-minded. Smallness comes from the collapse of his universe to those 2, 3 characters with which he has emotional, blood, and loyal thinking. And remember again, Bhagavad Gita is not warmongering. Bhagavad Gita is just using, Vyasacharya, the author, is just using war. He's using a very extreme situation to drive home the point that sometimes we may have to take actions which may not be easy for us. But if we are really going to be Arya, noble, if we have to do what we have to do, then sometimes we just have to be courageous. We have to choose courage. So this is the net of just a couple of strong words from Bhagwan, Lord, to Arjuna. I would love it. Lord came and scolded me. Besides, Arjuna was talking and talking. So the whole chapter 1, Arjuna talked. So the only response he could get from Lord is somewhat of a strong response, if nothing else, to make him keep quiet, even though we will notice that Arjuna still talks. But it's better. Anyway, so we are moving forward quickly with this. And then Arjuna starts again. Arjuna starts and he says, "Oh Krishna," same theme comes back. "How can I fight my Pujarha," means my adorable, my beloved, my worshipable Bhishma, my grandfather, and Drona, my guru, who is my, utterly guru. "Oh Arjuna, oh Krishna, how can I fight against adorable Bhishma and Drona in this war with arrows?" In Sankhya means war and Ishubhi means arrows. How? It's inconceivable, but he kind of nails it. This is my problem. And he calls Lord Krishna Madhusudana at this point. This is very interesting. I mentioned to you what they call each other, because Krishna had destroyed a very demonic-like personality called Madhusudana. So when he's calling him Madhusudana, he's saying, look, you can do all those things, because Madhusudana was clearly demonic. He had a career of being a demonic-like Rakshasa, a very tamasic person. So if it was Madhusudana in front of me, I could have killed him. But this is my beloved. He used the word beloved. Pujarha Varisudana. My beloved grandfather and my beloved teacher. How can I kill? I cannot even imagine doing that. So he says it. And then starts his long statements. And he says that in the next one, he says in verse 5, he says, in this world, right now in this jagat, it's better to beg and ask for food, better to live on alms than to kill one's guru. It's very true. And if I kill this guru, then even any pleasure or any kingdom I will enjoy, it will always have stamp that it will be blood stained. So he's repeating his point. He wants to, clarify that again. And as in, now Krishna is quiet again, because again Arjuna has started. So this is how really the teaching starts happening. Verse 6, the next verse, when he surrenders and slowly becomes quiet, and then the teaching happens. So there's a pause has to happen when, the way I see it is, our mind can be two ways. Our mind can be problem driven, or solution driven. But when it's problem driven, it can build up. I mean, it can get quite full, quite like high tide. And for it to start attracting solutions, receiving guidance, there has to be an inward movement and a poise and probably an exhale and an ability to receive, which we're not seeing yet, but we're moving towards it. So, but the way he's talking, Krishna again becomes quiet, and but then he starts saying, now he says in verse 6, he says, we have come to verse 6, and he says, now this is interesting. He says, he's kind of hinting that there are two courses, and he says, I don't know which of the two courses is better. Should I go to war? Should I not go to war? Should I let them conquer me? That's the word he's using. Or should I conquer them? So he kind of, Na chaitat vidmaha, I do not know what to do. He clearly says, Na chaitat vidmaha, I do not know what I have to do. So finally, last time I had discussed at length verse 7. And in verse 7, somehow he has talked himself through, and he starts calming down, and he says, I don't know which course to follow. Should I conquer them? Should I let them conquer me? And then he says that prapannam tvam, I am surrendered to you, sadhimam. So he says that my mind is overpowered by helplessness. So now there's a change. Instead of looking at them, crying for them, now he's looking at his own mind, you see. And now he says, I karpanya dosho pahata svabhava, karpanya dosha. It's like a vata pitta dosha, pitta dosha, kapha dosha. Karpanya dosha means a dosha of attachment. So I have become overpowered by the dosha of attachment. This he says. Then he says, dharma samur chetaha, which means my own intellect, chetaha, chitta, my own ability to think, deduce, discriminate, judge, plan, strategize, it has become muddled. Dharma samur chetaha, it has become completely deluded by this moha. So tvam prachami, I ask you, bruhitat, tell me, yat syat, which one, nishchitam shreyaha, which path is definitely good for me. Now it's very clear to the teacher. Should I let them conquer me? Should I conquer them? Which path is definitely good for me? Aham te shishyaha, I am your disciple. Shadimam, teach. Prapannam tvam, teach me who? Who am I? Who am I? Son of so-and-so, husband of so-and-so? No. I am one who is a disciple who has surrendered to you. Prapannam, I have surrendered to you. So when word surrender is used in a Guru Shishya Parampara, it means, okay, I'm surrendering my ego's privilege to decide its own course of action. Most of it, we all have it. Even a 2-year-old knows, I will decide. So everybody has an ego. But a Sheshya says, I'm going to retire my ego for a little bit because I've been using my ego until now, and it has led me to what? To raga, shoka, moha. It has led to suffering. So I'm going to retire it and you guide me. So this is why surrender is a very important state of mind in the movement of the student forward. And this is what is happening here. So we had discussed at length this 7th verse. So I'm not going to keep talking about it. So now let me talk about verse 8. Okay. So in verse 8, While he surrendered his ego, he submitted his 1500-word essay to Bhagwan in these words. He says, I do not see anything that can rid me of sorrow, of this sorrow of mine. And it has weakened all my sense organs, means my ability to perceive, ability to cognize. And at this point, even the mind is like a sense organ. And and that I realize that this sorrow will remain even if I get unrivaled, amazing kingdom on earth and all kinds of wealth, you know. So, Bhuma means upon earth, Rajyam, kingdom upon earth, Adipatyam Chasuranam, even after getting the kinship over the gods, like this would be an ultimate kingdom, a divine kingdom on earth, but I think that this grief will set in within me. And so he's really clearly surrendering, now it's okay to tell your guru, tell your guide that this is my sorrow. I'm really suffering from this. And by talking about the kingdom, he's saying he clearly knows that wealth, power, luxuries are not going to be the solution for the sorrow that I have. So this is what Arjuna presents to his teacher, Lord Krishna. That's it. This is where Arjuna kind of stops talking and he really lays his broken heart and the sense of emptiness that he's perceiving. And we've all had that. Sometimes we have a broken heart and we may have money in the bank, we may have prospects in the career, but we feel empty. And this is what he's saying. And this is where, he kind of stops talking, and Sanjay winds up with 2 more verses, and then Bhagwan starts talking, which we are going to talk about next. So then Sanjay Uvacha, and he says, having spoken this way to Lord Krishna, Arjuna, finally the last words he says is, I will not fight. So this is how students are. They are asking for help. They are also surrendering, but they are also having remnants of their ego. And so they have a solution that has been preconceived by older thoughts. And so the net of his understanding was, I will not fight. So he says, na yotsya iti, I will not fight. See, he says, Eva mukta hishikesham gudakesha parantapaha na yotsya iti govinda mukta tushni bhabuha na yotsya iti. I will not fight. So we don't see Arjuna saying it directly, I will not fight, but we have Sanjaya reporting in third person. And so his last words to Bhagwan were, Lord Krishna was, I will not fight. Na yotsya iti. These were his words. Now, please understand, I shall not fight. I will not fight. This is not just about fight in that war that happened or didn't happen thousands of years ago. I don't know. This is about us, where we get so depressed, we just put the blanket above our head and say, I will not even get out of my bed. I will not present my opinions. I will just become invisible. I shall disappear. If I have a disease, I'll give up to it. If I have sorrow, I will dwell in it. I will not fight is indicative of what happens when samsara overpowers us. We lose our inner ability to move forward. We start drowning in sorrow, and we become incapacitated, and we say, I will not fight. So this is the 9th verse. And he calls Lord Krishna Govinda at that time. And Govinda, as you know, is the one who is the protector of the world also, Gam Vidanti, is Govinda. So one who protects the world is Govindaha. Another meaning is Govind is one who is in control of his entire mind and senses. So he's now beginning to look at Lord as, okay, you protect me, you protect the whole world and go ahead and protect me, Another interesting word in Govind, it's very interesting, is Go here represents the Upanishadic Shastra, the Shastra. And Vindaha represents uh, that truth which can be grasped only through the listening of the Shastra. So Govinda is one, or Lord, or that supreme truth, power, divine truth lives inside the sacred Upanishadic scriptures, like now some of you have begun to study with me, and you had become all confused around God, or not confused, but I don't want to say that whatever you knew was confusing, but there were various ways of looking at God. But the way Ishvara comes forward, which includes whichever God you worship. Ishvara is not exclusive, is inclusive of every God, or any God or no God that you worship. All of this lives inside Shastra, Brahman, the understanding of the supreme reality that underlies all the changes. All of this knowledge is hidden inside the Upanishadic Shastra. So Go is the Upanishadic Shastra, Vindaha means that which gets revealed. So Govindaha, who is Lord Krishna? Is his presence only for Arjuna or for each one of us? Who is Bhagwan? Is there Ishvara? Are we just spiritual orphans roaming around miserable? Or is there hope for us? All of this gets revealed through Govinda. So that's why it's very interesting that now he's not calling him Madhusudana. Now he's saying Govinda. Na yotsya iti Govinda muktva. Hey Govinda, hey protector of the world, you protect me. You fight the fight for me. I will not fight. We are not scorning Arjuna. Let's feel how we get like that, how we become so broken, how we give up on the fight, how we feel so scared, we curl up in fetal position and get really scared. And it's okay then to tell Govinda about that. So we're not scorning anybody here. We're actually having great compassion for Arjuna, because this is the human's journey here, where they feel so lost and the truth is hidden in the Upanishads. But you and I, we can all be fortunate that the Gita Upanishad is going to reveal to us so much. So, and the very last verse, Sanjay further says, Lord Krishna spoke these words now to Arjuna, which will come up in 11th onwards, smiling as if it were. So it was like Prahasan Iva, right? Prahasan Iva, smiling as it were. Rishikesha, Lord Krishna, Rishikesha spoke idam vachaha, these words to Arjuna, who was Vishidantam, who was grieving. So please see that student is grieving, okay, because student has lack of knowledge. Student is, due to lack of knowledge, he is also feeling paralyzed. But the teacher is not laughing or scorning, but smiling from inner joy. Why? Because Lord knows that the student has surrendered now. Student has come to the path. I shall be able to teach that student. And because the student has surrendered, teacher can see that the student is full of delusions and confusions, but Krishna is smiling because he knows that Arjuna is about to get the gift of Shastra, and it shall set him free. And it is true that at the end of the 18th chapter, our Arjuna knows what to do, and he becomes awakened to a much greater reality, which exists at the absolute level, at the dharmic level, and at the worldly level. He knows all his choices. He's a very confident person. And probably Lord Krishna, he's God. He could see that this is what's going to happen. So that smile, I think, I love this verse 10, and I love the countenance of Bhagwan smiling in the middle of the battlefield, in the middle of the dejection of Arjuna, in the middle of this great warrior who was behaving in an unmanly manner. To say that to a great warrior who was renowned, that means something. He had really been reduced to a very, sorrowful version of himself. But there was Lord smiling, and that smile is a smile of sattva. And thereafter, the teachings from verse 11, which is coming up next, to verse 66, there are a few more verses which kind of have a closing impact, but the teaching happens from 211 to 1866. And where did he teach it? Sena yoho ubhayo madhye, in the middle, between the two armies. And those two armies represent our choices. Those two armies represent this or that, darkness or light. There is always a crossroads. And that's why it's very symbolic that Lord would teach here. So with this, we complete verse 10, and we are going to go forward with studying verse 11. But I would just briefly like to pause and congratulate ourselves and feel good that we did this, and we are about to start verse 11. I would say that you should go back to each of these 10 verses and reread from the text that you have, and then, of course, re-listen to what I have to say. And I would say that the end of these 10 verses, you should really have a deep, compassionate, and special place for Arjuna. And also identify yourself with Arjuna, because I have been there. And I have also found that when I was really, really broken, when I had nowhere to go, because we managed to do it right here, when I had nowhere to go, I could only turn towards God. And then there was light. That's all I can say. And then there was guidance. And my Guru and God have helped me when I have really deeply been able to trust a greater teacher. And of course, Shastra has been in my life. So, very happy. So now, Bhagwan Uvacha means Bhagwan spoke. Shri Bhagwan Uvacha Ashocha Nanvashocastvam Pragyavadamscha Bhashase Gata Sumscha Nanu Shochanti Panditaha. So this is a loaded verse. So Lord begins with, in this chapter, chapter 2 is actually reflective of all the chapters that are coming up. And if you look at all the teachings, then like I mentioned, there is the highest philosophy, which is the philosophy of the Param Tattvam, the ultimate truth of Atman Brahman, self, the ultimate reality. Then there is, and then he teaches that till about verse 25. The ultimate, Atma Vidya, Brahma Vidya, Atma Jnanam. And then again, compassion. In case that's too much, then he teaches about dharma, how to be noble, what is the ways that we can embody nobility through karma yoga. And finally, he also teaches how to be, we've seen some of it, but there will be a little bit of bhakti yoga coming up so that we can at a worldly level, we feel scared, we feel nervous. So how can we connect to the higher power? So there is all these teachings that are coming up, not to say, Arjuna, here is this one teaching and this is it. He was a psychologist. 5,000 years ago, you see psychotherapy happening here. He's giving all these ideas to see which one Arjuna will bite, which one will he chew upon. How and he is giving him a full spectrum uh, uh, psychotherapy so that there is a deconditioning happening. So at the highest level, when we forget that we are spiritual beings, we are not physical beings, we are deathless beings, we are immortal beings, we forget that. And that creates its own version of illusion at the level of Maya. There is a self-hypnosis where we begin to take our life very literally and we don't even know who we are. So that's the highest level. Then there is the dharmic level, and then there is the worldly level, and he will take us through all of that. But he chooses to begin with the highest level. And now I understand that as an Acharya, I understand now that because this is a teaching text in the Vedic tradition, Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Sutras, and Upanishads, these are the three prasthantraya, the three main tools of awakening and empowerment in the Jnana Yoga tradition. So there is always the highest of Jnana Yoga that comes first. That's number one. Okay. And also it may plant some seeds in many of you, and you may not completely get what Krishna is teaching yet, the first time. But slowly as you chew upon it, it is the ultimate reality. And for me also, it took some time, these verses. But even my new book is all about this. I mean, this has become the highest paradigm is my main paradigm through which I work. That's why as a teacher, I'm not always easy to understand. But so don't give up, don't get frustrated if verse 11 to 25 feel like some of it is going through your ear and some of it is going above your ear. You didn't get it. Just trust, listen, you can go back and contemplate, re-listen. In a few years from now, it will all make sense. And then there will be other verses that you totally get. And then there'll be some verses that you're like, I'm already living this. So you'll get a variety of teaching. And that's always how Bhagavad Gita is. And keep getting wet in the river. That's what's more important. And trust that this is coming from Bhagwan. It's coming at the right karmic, opportune time. It's going to do the work it's going to do on me. And it's going to decondition me for my self-ignorance, ultimately. So it's not about intellectually, academically being on top of it, but more like opening your heart and receiving it. And that's what I would say. Okay. So the Lord begins first by addressing his grief because he had said, I'm full of grief. Do you remember that? And so he says, you are grieving for those who should not be grieved for. And you are speaking wise words. So be wise. So what is real wisdom then? It's not scolding him, but saying, you're speaking wise words, but wise men or wise people, he didn't say men, he said wise beings. And even the word wise, I don't know, but it's called people of discernment, pragya. The pragya means one who is using a deeper faculty, not just a reactive faculty, but a faculty that has become nurtured with jnanam, with wisdom. So it says people with discrimination, wisdom, they do not grieve for the dead and for the living. So now bear with me. is coming at a very high level. And it's a very important verse because in a way it condenses the entire Gita into this one verse. So you can understand that I might need a whole another class to explain this verse to you. And that's okay, right? Because if we could get these 25 verses in this lifetime, rather 11 to 25 verses in this lifetime, we're lucky. We're fortunate. So we're not trying to complete 18 chapters. We are here to gather the real wisdom. So, when he says that, so in a way, Lord Krishna is saying that he's pointing to a very root problem that we all have. And it's the problem of self-ignorance, S is capital. And we have confused ourselves. We think that we are the body and the mind. And we have forgotten that we are a spiritual being. We are Atman. And that we are not, we have a body and mind, but we are not the body and mind. So there is a very core confusion that we are all having. So in a way, it's not Atma Jnanam, but it's Atma Ajnanam. It's a complete ignorance of the self, and it's because of this ignorance, really. If you look at the deepest reason why we are suffering at all in our lives, you and I, in our day-to-day things, it is even like, oh, will I make it to the airport on time? In case this is a worry, it's not, because the logistics of my life are ruled by somebody called Sanjay Mathur, who's always on top of things. And besides, if I miss a plane, I miss a plane. But the point is, in case it's a suffering, then that suffering will occur to me because I think that I am this 5 feet something human being whose life is completely dependent upon reaching the airport on time, catching the flight on time, receiving those goals, because this is my life, this is all of me, and I will get fused with it. But if I remember that I'm a self and all of this is just an experience happening in a dreamlike existence, whether I catch flights or miss flights, I mean, qualitatively it is the same in the dream. So bear with me, okay? Those of you who've studied some Tattva Bodh, it will be easy. For those of you who are relatively new to my discussions on the self and dream world and all of that, this will be complex. And I'm going to take my time to explain this to you, so you don't have to, have any concerns. Remember, Lord is smiling and teaching this. So he says that when he says, so he says that it is this forgetfulness that we begin grieving for people we shouldn't be grieving for. What do you mean by we shouldn't be grieving for? Because some deeper teachings are coming up, not because they are not worthy of our grief. He's not talking at a worldly level of shoulds and coulds. The deepest point that Lord wants to convey to us is that, which will come up in coming up verses. But the deepest point he wants to say is we think that, for example, we may grieve for our child who may not pass a certain exam. We may grieve for somebody who is suffering from cancer or who has premature death. Right? These are the things we grieve for. We may grieve for an animal who goes extinct. We may grieve for people who do not have a blanket in the cold. Right? These are our worldly griefs, aren't they? But at the very highest level, the self, which is our true self, our true spiritual nature, is immune to all of this. If body is It has a body, it has a mind, and there are experiences that the body and mind are experiencing. But the self, the real self, is immune to any of that sorrow. It is trans sorrow, and it is even trans joy, because it is one with the supreme reality. So even our so-called grief is when we subscribe to that experience, think it's the ultimate reality, and then we get locked into crying or being joyous. Now, when I had first heard this, I thought, is Lord Krishna being. I had heard it from childhood, and when I was a child, I didn't understand these words. But maybe I was. Baba used to keep teaching the Gita, so maybe I was 15 or 16 when I started contemplating if Lord was being a bit indifferent. He was not. He was just teaching the highest knowledge. And in my own progress, in my own thinking from worldly to dharmic to the ultimate reality, when there is death in the family, in my case, we just had a death a week ago of someone I was very close to, or some things don't happen the way they should. Um, One of my innermost now conviction is that it's just all happening. It's an appearance. It's not the ultimate reality. So I'm no one to rescue something. I'm nobody to abandon something. I can simply hope to wake up from all of this. So it's a very so there is a moment of, can I help in the dream? But at the same time, there is knowledge that this is not the only reality. And this is so Lord Krishna begins by saying, the reality that you bought into, Arjuna, may not be the only reality. So I just want to see your physical hands to know that I've not lost you and you are with me. Any hands? Okay, thank you. All right. So in this world, we either worry about the people who are living, or we worry about the people who are dead, right? Or we worry about the people who are in between. These are our bulk of worry. And Arjuna was worrying about the living people who he thought might become dead, and he was feeling like, I'm going to be somebody who is, I'm very involved. I'm very, it's very responsible thing to do. I should be so worried. But Lord Krishna comes, he just kind of, probably it's like he lifts the curtain on whole another paradigm, and word by word this is important for you to know. So he's Shri Bhagwan Vacha means the Lord said. Tvam means you. Tvam anvashochaha, you are grieving, you know. Ashocha, for those who should not be grieved for, because they are completely powerful unto themselves. There is no self which is a victim, and there is no self which is an abuser at the end of the day. This is all a leela, a play going on. We'll understand why, etc. later on. And then he says, Panditaha, wise men, Anushochanti, do not grieve. Gatasuna, for the dead. Cha agatasuna, and for the living. What does it mean? That people who understand a certain kind of knowledge do not grieve, period. Now, this is not spiritual bypassing. I'm not talking about, oh, I'm a wise person, I'm just going to stick my grief under the carpet and pretend like I'm enlightened. He's not saying that, because remember, there are 3 levels of speech. There actually comes a time when one starts recognizing a greater paradigm to what is manifest right now in front of us. And once we realize that higher reality, the comings and goings and the losses and the joys and the oops moments and the aha moments don't carry that level of importance anymore. it's almost like when you were in a dream world and you were sitting next to a dead body and lamenting because you knew that the dead body was the body of somebody beloved to you, and in that dream they had died, and you were really, sorrowful in the dream. You were lamenting, you were miserable, and in fact, you were lamenting so much that even your living body that was asleep could feel it. The emotions were coming from the dream world and affecting your living body, and you were full of samsaric sorrow at that moment, but then you realized it's a dream. And then that dead body was still there, but you will stop crying. And then when you woke up from that dream, you are no longer lamenting for that dead body. So there actually is an invitation for us on the table by Lord Krishna to wake up from this living dream also, not just the dream you have at night, but the dream that you wake up to after you're woken up from your bed. And even this is not the ultimate reality, because there are three realities. One is the reality that we all share right now, that we are having here. Then there is a private reality that we all dream or think about privately. And we fluctuate between the two. For example, right now we're all talking about Bhagavad Gita, but one or two of you might be thinking if your dog has eaten or not, so you might go off into your own private reality. Then every night you all go off into your private realities in your dreams. Then you again wake up and come back to the common reality. You see an email from Soham saying, oh, Bhagavad Gita tonight. So we all have this common reality, but even this common reality feels very real. It feels so real. I can touch my laptop and I can feel it's cool and it's whatever, smooth. But then the reality in your dream felt the same way. You could touch your laptop and type your manuscript in your dream. In fact, some of us write books in dreams, not in real life. Some of us write here, not there. So it's like that reality, while the dream existed, was absolutely real for you. If somebody inside your dream came to you and said, come on, it's a dream, and you were not ready to wake up, you'd say, are you crazy? Are you crazy? This is a dream. I have to work very hard. In that dream, everything is as real in the dream to your dream ego at that time. Similarly, when you wake up from that dream into this, and I don't know if this is more real or that's more real, because when you are there, you don't remember this life. When you are in this life, you forget those lives. But anyway, we all somehow come from our private sojourns into this life. Okay? This is called as Vyavharika reality. That one is called Pratibhasika reality. So we can call it dream reality and we can call it wake reality. And this wake reality now for all of you feels very real, and many of you even have a guru in your wake reality. And definitely wake reality has one advantage, that there is a continuing thread of time-space continuum. And whereas in the dream reality, time-space can be anything. There's an advantage there too, because you can meet the dead, the departed, you can have visions from Baba. So you can have all that there. Those benefits are in that reality. There are certain benefits in this reality, such as some of the benefits are internet. You have it in this reality. So you are here. But now Vedanta says there is a third reality, known as Paramarthika reality, and we all have to wake up to that reality. And in that reality, when you wake up, while in this reality you wake up, then everything in this reality will stop mattering, because you will realize that there is really nobody dying, nobody being born, and you'll begin to see the dream-like existence. So therefore he begins with a confusing statement, for unless you have a teacher to point out to you what's going on, what's behind this. And when he says you are grieving for those who should not be grieved for, sometimes it is interpreted as Drona and Bhishma are not worth grieving for. No. What he's saying is grieving is completely optional. And that all is well. Actually, that's what he's saying. And so all these topics will remember we have many, many more chapters and things will become clear slowly. But this is what he is saying. So he's saying that the Pandita, the one who use pragya, who use their discernment facility to understand jnana, they do not cry. So I'll just chant it for you. It says, so Lord continues. In chapter 1, Arjuna continues all the time. But in this, now fortunately, Lord continues. And he says, Na tveva ham jatu nasam, na tvam neme janadhipaha, na cheva na bhavishyamaha, sarve vyamata param. And it's really beautiful. In this, he says that um, um, Lord is saying that there was never a time. There was never a time when I was not there and you were not there. There was never a time. So we think, you and I think, oh, I was born in 1965. So he says no. And bodies are coming and going. You were always there. There was never a time when I was not there in the past and you were not there in the past. And even these thoughts that these kings were not there, or all of us and these kings will not exist in the future, this is also not true. Again, Lord is explaining in a complex, roundabout manner. But we think it's complex and roundabout because we don't understand it. But Lord is explaining poetically, beautifully, and He's actually explaining one word through this entire shloka. And the word is called Nitya, that which has neither beginning nor end, that which is always is, that pure existence which is our self. So in this shloka, when I come back in January, I will teach you about what we think we are, the confusion that we've had, what we think we are, and what we think we're not. And, and then who are we? So he basically starts teaching about Atman here. And then in the 13th mantra, he talks about how the body changes from, childhood to youth to old age. And then at death, it just like it has gone through these changes, at death, it changes another body, just like it changes clothes. So it's a beautiful teaching on how this pure existence, which is ourself, is taking on bodies like we wear clothes and taking them off like we wear clothes. So these are beautiful, poetic shlokas. They feel complex, but they are going to plant within you an understanding that is ultimately going to teach you about something, knowing which all grief dries up within you. Really, it does. I was a student like you, of a teacher, and I had many sorrows in my life. One of them was my mother's death. Another one was my sister's death. And these kind of sorrows, we all have them. So nothing special with me. Somebody has something, somebody has something. But gradually, the more I have dwelled upon this highest knowledge, and I've not dwelled upon it for 1 day or 2 days, it's become part of my ongoing contemplation. I have noticed that there is an ease and a sense of freedom from that grief, and a great smile in spite of the losses. So that's just what I want to share with you. So thank you, everyone. Let us end with Asatoma Sadgamaya. This mantra from Brihad Aranyak Upanishad is truly such a teacher. In the entire Bhagavad Gita also, we are moving from what is Asat, Mithya, to what is Satyam, Atma. We are moving from darkness of ignorance in our mind to light, which is knowledge of who am I. And we are moving from our identification with our mortal body. I will die, this will die, I will kill, I will not, I don't want to kill, all this confusion, to acting from a place of I am. This is the whole trip. Om Asato Ma Satkamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om peace, peace, peace. Jai everyone. It was such a joy to be teaching a Bhagavad Gita class before I leave the country. Yeah, I feel blessed when I teach it, blessed by the Lord. Okay, love you all. Take care. Bye.